My name is Craig Williams, and with me here today is Tanu Hoque, and this session is on enabling high-quality printing in web applications. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through kind of the overview of printing in web apps and talk about the several different approaches we have for that with ArcGIS Server. And Tanu's going to give several demonstrations on these different approaches so you get to see these in action. When we talk about high-quality printing on the web, we're typically talking about creating a printable document. Usually you're talking about a PDF. Most of you want that document to be printed at an exact scale, preferably the scale you're looking at the map on. And you want to leverage existing layouts or existing layout templates that you may be familiar with, for instance, from ArcMap. And some of you want to support large format plots, not just supporting printing to legal paper, letter paper in the US or A4 in the rest of the world. Some of you want to do really large format printing, but more importantly, you want to display all the contents of your web map. That includes services, any graphics, all the feature layers. Some of you have asked for permission or APIs to be able to modify the map content during the process of printing. For instance, swapping out one layer for another. And some of you want to support really high DPI, so really high quality prints. And these are a lot of differing requirements, but we created a 3-tiered approach that we hope helps meet these needs for you. And we'll go through each one of those tiers. The first tier is just the simplest. This is simple printing through ArcGIS Server. And this is an out-of-the-box geoprocessing service with ArcGIS Server. It supports small format printing, so to your letter page or your A4 page. It's a synchronous geoprocessing service, and it supports token-based security on services. The second approach is a custom configuration. This is essentially republishing that same service that comes pre-deployed with ArcGIS Server, but publishing that with your own templates. And since you're republishing a geoprocessing service, you can make this asynchronous if you desire. Now you might want to flip to asynchronous if the print job is going to take a very, very, very long time. Otherwise you would leave it as a synchronous print job. And since you can supply your own templates with a custom configuration, you can support large format printing. So if you want to print an ArcE or A0 or a very large print size, you can do that with the custom configuration just by having a template that supports that page size. And then finally, the third tier is really for advanced cases. And we do this via ArcPy mapping. And this supports map layer and addition or replacement. So for those of you who want to swap out layers that may exist in a web map for local content, you can do that by implementing your own print service via ArcPy mapping. So printing, just as an overview, the most important thing to know is that it's powered by web maps. And this is a consistent format produced by the ArcGIS APIs. And it's a JSON-based specification for sharing services, service connections, graphics, symbols, etc. And you can define all this in the web map and then pass this to the print service. Most of the APIs just handle this for you. One thing to take note is that services in the web map must be accessible to the print service. So if you're calling a print service on a server and that server can't see your services, it's not going to be able to print them. And sort of HTTP security is one of the trouble spots with this. Because we don't have a very great way to handle that particular case. But just this diagram down at the bottom covers kind of the overview of printing. You have JavaScript API, you have any apps, any of your own custom applications. They produce a web map specification. That web map gets passed to the print service. The actual operation inside of the print service is called export web map. That produces an output file. Could be a PNG, could be SVG. Most of the time you're wanting PDF. Now, one of the cases that commonly comes up is people are caching services a lot these days with raster tile caches. And those tiles are typically created at 96 DPI. And if you want to do a high quality output, you're going to get 96 DPI tiles in your print. It's not going to look that great. Now, if you're caching a map service in ArcGIS server, you can take advantage of an extra feature by adding dynamic layer support to your map service. So just enabling dynamic layers. And what will happen is the print service will detect this at output time, and rather than drawing from the tiles, it'll actually request a higher DPI export from the map service, and then you'll get a much more crisp and clean looking map than drawing the 96 DPI tiles. So if you look here on the image down here at the bottom on the left, if dynamic layers is turned off, it's equals false, and you print at 600 DPI, you get this lovely pixelated image. And if you turn dynamic layers on, we'll actually output at the requested DPI at 600 DPI. Now note, to turn dynamic layers on for your map service, you must have publisher or admin rights to update that service. And this user interface screenshot shows how to enable it. So you just check this box that enables dynamic layers. The actual user interface option is called allow per request modification of layer order and symbology. So just enable that, and your cache services will be able to export at a higher DPI to get better quality. Now, if you're using ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise with Portal, you can register your own print service. Now, with ArcGIS Online, this is an organizational account setting. So if your organization is using services that are not hosted on ArcGIS Online, they're hosted on servers behind your firewall, and you have a printer behind, or a print service behind your firewall, you can point your org to that print service, so that that print service can see your services and be able to publish them. It's just a quick configuration on the utility services entry of a Portal or ArcGIS Online organization. And with that, I think we'll turn over to Tanu for a demo of the
Oh my goodness. Sure. Let's try that.
I can hold it for you.
You want to hold?
You want to clip it?
I can clip it. Hopefully the clipping will work. What's going on today? All right, can you hear me, guys? In the back? No? No? Oh, gosh. How about now? Now?
Oh, no, it's hidden behind you.
Now? No? All right, now. Okay, I'll hold it too. That's fine. I'll do it. All right, thanks. We have been having this issue with this mic since Planary, I guess, right? All right, thanks, Craig. So, Craig mentioned about this one. Oh, flip it. Yeah. Thanks. All right, so let's look at what are the options we have out of the box, right? Craig basically touched it a little bit. So here with this ArcGIS Online Map Viewer, or that ArcGIS Enterprise, or that Portal Map Viewer, it comes with this printing tool right here, right? So it is out there for you to use it. So the map that I'm using here is showing the medical insurance coverage for 2016 in Palm Springs area. So if I would like to print it, all I have to do is to click print, and in few moments, I'll get an image with some surrounding text to give you something that you can print out, okay? Which is, and there is an error. Great. Okay, imagine, okay, it drew there. I don't know why. I just did that moments ago. Anyways, it would work, hopefully, next time. But anyways, this is the simple case where you get just that image in the middle, instead of the error message and the surrounding text, something that you can print out. And then let's look at the other one out of the box options that we have is that this web application builder. How many of you guys used it? Most of you, right? So if I want to add a printing capabilities to my app, all I have to do is to go to the widget, add a widget called print. I'll leave all the defaults there. And when I'm done with it, I can of course publish it. And as I click the printing tool here, you see that I have the few options. I can choose my layout templates, which I chose here, A4 landscape. I want my output in the PDF format. I want my text, the title, replaced by something meaningful. And in that advanced page, I want to make sure that the legends are included. So once I'm done, I can click and submit the job to the printing service. So right there you see that Web Application Builder gives you more options and control over your printing output rather than Map Viewer. Map Viewer has a basic print options. So if I open my print job, you see that it looks like a traditional map. It has a title on the top, the map, the legend, scale bars and everything the way you want, that you can print out and hand it over to someone, or if you want to email it to, you can email it to that person. But now at this point you can ask us that, okay, now if we can get all of those things, why do I need to have my own printing service, right? So before I answer that question, let me tell you one thing is that the map you are seeing right now, it uses some map services that are basically made publicly available. What if I have a map service that is running within my network, like this sample world cities that is running on my machine, and I would like to print that? So I add that in my map viewer app. Now if I click the same button, print, you will see that it actually errors out. It is supposed to error out this time, by the way. Okay. The reason it errors out is because if I open my the network tab from here, oops, what happened to that? It's gone. All right, let me submit my print job again. All right. So here's the request that went out to my printing service, and in the response, I see that it says unable to connect to my map server. So what happens is that the default printing service that being used by our ArcGIS Online Map Viewer or the Portal Map Viewer or the Web Application Builder, it lives somewhere in the cloud, and that doesn't have access to my machine. So that's why it cannot print that map. So what are the solution? Solution is very simple. So when you install ArcGIS server, okay, it comes with the printing service itself. If you go to the utility network in the manager, you will see something called printing tools right there. All you have to do is to start that service, which I already did for the sake of time. This is a geoprocessing tool. It runs in the synchronization mode. And let's take a look at the REST endpoint of that service. It comes with 2 tasks. We'll talk about this get layout template info task later. But export web map task is the real deal. This is the one that generates the PDF or PNG for you. It has 4 parameters. The first one is web map as JSON. This one takes a JSON string that basically represents the current state of your map when you click that print button. The next one is the format. Basically, you want to mention that what format you want your output to be. Is it a PNG, PDF, GIF? There are 4 or 8 different options we support. Layout template is where the printing service says, hey, these are the layout templates I have in addition to the map only, and you as a client can tell, hey, I want map only. If you just want the map, no surroundings like the no text box on top, no scale bars, you can choose, or you can choose one of the templates name like A4 or A3 landscape. And of course the 4th one is the output file name. So how can I use that? That's exactly what Craig says before, that all you have to do is to go to the organization's settings, and there is a utility service where you paste that URL. Once you do that, it creates some print templates for you, and it allows you to create a new print templates. Print templates is nothing but a combination of the input to a print service. I can put my name, and I want that output to be in the PDF, not in image, and I want my output to be in the A4 landscape and would like to include the legend in the output. Once I'm done, I save it. I go back to my map viewer. If I refresh it, right away you see that the print tool itself is replaced by a drop-down menu. And you see my template right here, the one that I created. If I click it, it will submit the job to the through my print service that is running on my machine right now, and I get my result back. Now you see that the title on top, the legends and everything, right? So now let's shift gear a little bit and show you what happens behind the scene. What happens is that when you submit that button, it actually sends a JSON to the print service. The JSON looks like this one. It has some high-level elements like map options that describes the extent, the current extent you are looking at, the scale. The layout option is where it says the title, the layers that needs to be part of the legends, and the operational layer that says how many layers it has, and some of the layer definitions like are the sub-layer visibles, do you have the definition query, or the drawing info and everything. So once that comes in, printing service processes that and sends that to the back to that client. So if you want to know more about that one, all you can do is that you can go to the help to our REST endpoint. Where's the REST endpoint help? I'm sorry, I don't. It's not there. So if a REST endpoint, I'll get to show you later on. That's where you can actually see there is a REST spec on that export web map. So now you guys are the developers all here. Now you guys will be interested, how can you do that with your custom JavaScript app? JavaScript apps provide two options, one called print task, another is print digits. Right. Print digits comes with a little UI, whereas the print task does not come with that one. This is the print digit. And they have some samples code. If you go to the sample and the printing, I can choose the print web map, and I can open that with a sandbox. All I have to do is right now is get in the ID of my web map that I have been using so far, paste it, so that I can use that one with my sample JavaScript API. Let me type my password. There you go. So what you see is that here, in the first place, they are defining some layout templates, which is basically these two options here, the drop-down options that are defined as a JSON. And then the next line, what they're doing, they're using that JSON to create some print templates JavaScript class objects. And finally, they are creating that print digits within it that's assigned the map itself, the template that we just created from here, and they start up that, right? And then once I'm done, all I have to do is to submit that the job to that printing service, and it will print that out. So basically, we looked at what are the options we have so far out of the box. They have the printing options with the map viewer. Web application builder has its own. There's something. Everything is failing today. It has this print widget. And then, of course, you can use your own printing service by changing the settings in the ArcGIS Online organization. And there are some options in the JavaScript API that allows you to create your custom app with the printing options there. With that, back to you, Craig.
Can you hear me with this mic? All right. Try to go with this and not have to transfer mics again. All right. You want to flip me over 3? All right. So that was the out-of-the-box print service, the one that's deployed with ArcGIS Server by default. Oops, went backwards instead of forwards. One thing to keep in mind is supported security types for services. And primarily when we're dealing with ArcGIS services, you're going to get token-based, short-lived token-based security by default, and that, of course, works with the print service. We also have refer-based security used in ArcGIS Online, and that will work as well. And those are the primary security types supported for your services in the print service. Now, that was the basic print service we kind of talked about. That's tier 1 of the complexity of the print services. We'll now talk about custom print services with your own layout templates. And the way you do this is you publish the export web map tool as your own service. So we have an export web map geoprocessing tool, and you publish that. And when you publish that, you can include your own layout templates. And when you do this, you can include your own branding, logos, layout design, any specific fonts you want to use. You can also choose whether or not to make that service asynchronous. I said earlier that really depends on the size of your prints and the length of time they'll take. Now, one new thing we added at the 10.4 release is this extra tool called Get Layout Templates Info. And this is actually written in ArcPy, in Python, using ArcPy. And the purpose of this tool is that it provides info about your templates being used for print services so that you can make your application more intelligent if you want to. So whether or not you have particular named text elements and things in your layout template that you want to pass as part of the print operation, you can use the Get Layout Template Info tool to retrieve that information from the templates that are provided. And really it just returns this simple JSON structure back, and it's telling you whether or not the layout has copyright text or title text and things like that, and then if it has custom text elements, and if it does, what their names are. So this is really useful if you want to get into a specific configuration of a layout template and really having a user interface where you can feed in particular named text elements to get the layout you desire. Now, just to recap publishing a custom print service and how layout templates work, the first thing is that during the print operation, or with layout templates, you really want to remove all your existing layers in that template unless you have an overview map. There are some particular cases where you might leave layers in there. For instance, advanced vector printing. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But generally, you want to produce a layout that has a blank space for your content to be filled into. Now, there's a couple different options when you're publishing custom templates and about where those templates are stored when the service is printed. And if you don't register a template folder when you publish, all those templates get copied to a location on the server. Now, that's kind of handy, but if you ever want to update those templates after the fact, it's a little bit more difficult. So we would highly recommend that if you want to update templates after you publish the service, that you put them in a registered folder, a folder that's registered with the service. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Embedded images. Is there anything particular you want to say about this particular? I think Tanu's going to cover some of the more gotchas with embedded images and things like that in layout templates. In most cases, you want to embed the image in the template so that it's not referencing a file path that could be broken when you publish to the server. There is a kind of exceptional case, which is with ArcPy, where if you're replicating some of the data-driven pages workflows, you want to swap out that image on a extent-by-extent basis, and there's some APIs for handling that. And then once again, we have the Get Layout Templates Info. That's a new Python script tool that we deployed with the 10.4 server. If you happen to be using a version of server prior to 10.4, this tool will actually work with those versions of server. You can download it and publish it. It's just a script tool. It's a geoprocessing script tool. Now, we'll get into the intricacies of folder registration when you publish a print service. So the number one option is you don't register the folder where these templates live. And when you publish, the templates get copied to the server. Okay? Updates to templates then require you to republish the service, which is kind of a pain. The next option is you put them on a network shared folder when you publish, or an unmanaged folder on the server. And in both of these cases, you can update templates without republishing or restarting the service. You're just updating these MXD files on disk, and you don't have to worry about republishing it all. And just to show how to do it, in a network shared folder, you just check this option, same as publisher folder path, or if you want an unmanaged folder on the server, you just enter the path of the server. All right, and then Tanu's going to demonstrate how this works, and flip it over to him.
All right, can you hear me? All right, I'll hold it again. Okay, so this is the output from the previous task that I submitted. So one thing you see that that out-of-the-box print service, they come with only 8 different templates. Okay, those are like a very vanilla types templates, like one you're looking at right now. Okay, so what if I want to do something like this? That's what I want to customize it. I want to rearrange those elements different way. I want to have my logo down here that we are seeing it, and there are some of this information that I would like to add right here. Okay, like if I zoom in, for the right there at the bottom, some of those the information about the highlighted feature, I want to draw them here. So how can I do that, right? So that's where we come into that custom print service solution. As Craig mentioned, that we have to go through by publishing a process, but there are a couple of steps there. First is you need to create your own printing templates, right? Printing templates are nothing but MXDs that are sitting in a folder and that is referenced by that printing service. Okay. So like many of you, I know that you guys have your own printing style, the layout, probably you already have that you have been using daily life for printing, right? So this is one of the examples that I only have a layout or layout in MXD that I have been using, and I look to make that ready for my printing service. So the first thing that I need to do is that I will remove all the layers, as Craig says. All right. So if you do not do that, what will happen is that those layer remains there, and it will take more time for you to get the response back from the printing service. That's number one. Number two is that title, I need to make sure the titles are dynamic. So what I will do, I will go to the insert menu and add title. Once it is there, I will change that property. Come on. Or change the fonts, change the styles and everything. And you see that the text here, it's actually kind of different. It's like an HTML tag. So what that means, that it dynamically gets updated based on the information set to the map document. Okay, I remove the first one. I'm positioning it there. Then I want to add my credits, the service layer credits. Not this guy. At the bottom of my map, not overlapping on the map. The way we'll do that, go back to the insert menu, dynamic text, and service layer credits. I'll do the same thing. I will change the font size. Go, change them, positioning in the right place, and I'm all good for that one. The next one, as Craig said, the logos, I need to make sure they are saved as a part of the document or embedding it within my document, right? Then at the bottom, I want to add the timestamp when it gets printed. To do that, I will go back there to the dynamic text again. I will add the current date and the current time, 2 text elements there. I'll copy that, the dynamic text thing from here, and put it, so I will combine them into one text element. Don't need that anymore. Remove it. Change the font size to 6. They go. I don't need them. Those are the static text that I'm replacing by some dynamic text. And then I want to have something called print. Who's the person that is printing it? I want his or her name there. To do that, I will go back to the same insert menu and add author text element. Okay. Then I change that. I don't need that extra prefix text there. change that to font size to 6. Replace this guy with this dynamic text, and I'm almost all set, except that on this side I want to have something where I would like to have those value replaced. So that's where the custom text element comes into the picture, as Craig mentioned. So these are the static text elements I have. I'm removing them and replacing by some text elements that I already created. These text elements are nothing but the same thing we showed before, the regular text element. Only difference is that they have some name. So if I go to the size and position page, I see that they have some name. So when you do that and you have this task that Craig showed before, you publish it, then the client would know what are the text elements that it has, okay? And each one of them, you see that they have the text element name. So once I'm done, all I have to do is to save it as in a folder, okay? And I'm done preparing my templates. The next step is to publish my printing service. To do that, what I will do, I will go to that System, Toolbox, Server Tools, Toolset, and there is one thing called Printing. And there we have Export Web Map. All I have to do is to open that, pick that folder that contains those two MXDs that will show up right here in this drop-down box, execute it. Okay. Since I have those custom text elements and other dynamic text elements, I do need to republish another task. And do the same thing. I'll go and pick the same folder, execute it, and then I go to the geoprocessing result window, and that's where I will start publishing that geoprocessing tool. And then I'll just go to the same publishing process. Once I'm there, I need to add my other result. See that get layout template info? That's what I'd like to add here. And that's it. I'm done. I will analyze it. And I get a warning that's saying that the folder that I specified is not registered. As Craig mentioned, that I should register if I want to reference them by their location. All I have to do is that register that folder. Oh, I have that right here. Paste it. I can set template. It's registering. Once I'm done, I can reanalyze, and there is another one. Okay, it's done, and then it's solved. Done. So I can right now start publishing it. So I already did that before for the sake of time. Now let's take a look at that service itself. So this is my printing service that I published before, and it has those two tasks. This is the one that returns you that information about the custom text elements and everything right here, as Craig showed before. And this is the real deal, the export web map, which looks like exactly identical to that out-of-the-box printing service. Now to use that, all I have to do is to copy that URL and use that in my application builder. Okay, so where does my application builder go? Sorry about that. Right. Oh my goodness. All right, here when I add I can change the property of my printing widget and replace that URL of that one. Click OK. You see that once I do that and I switch to my portrait layout, I see that all those text elements, the custom text elements that I put in my text box, they are showing up in that advanced section, right? So all I have to do right now is that I click on my features. Oh, now these are the information. I can just copy that and paste in there, for example. Oh, that's California. The name. I can put some values, which I know for sure off the top of my head. And that's it. I'm done with that one, and then I can submit my print task. Okay. So once I do that, it will include that information, the part of that request that goes to the printing service. The printing service will use that, construct that map, and put those information, that custom text element. It will try to find the text element with that name and replace the value of that text element with the value that I just passed in. Okay, and then it will generate the PDF and send it back to the client. And I'm waiting for that one. So while I'm waiting on that one, so same thing you can do with the JavaScript API too, right? JavaScript allows that. Do you remember that I showed you before with that code in the JavaScript, that layout options you create? I'll go back to that and I'll show you to that one. So this is the code that I have. So that's where you have the custom text elements. You are defining all those custom text elements name up front. Or you can customize that. I mean, you can automate that process too if you want to. And you can also do something like you can have an event listener. When you click on a feature, it will actually submit a query like I did here. I submitted a query to that, put my server. I get the result back in the query complete. I loop through my attributes and filling up those text elements in that layout options. Once it is done, the printing task will simply include that in the request, and you'll get that image back out. Is it done? Yes, finally it's done. And look at that. So I've got my map, the text, and at the bottom I see my information right there. Okay, so that's how you can actually include some of this information that you would like to include in your output map in addition to your the layout in addition to your map. Back to you, Craig.
All right, you want to flip me over? All right, so that was printing with custom templates. In that case, we're still using the out-of-the-box export web map tool and the layout templates tool out of the box, but we're doing some configuration of text elements and the layout template itself to push as much information into that template and into that output PDF as possible. But that doesn't satisfy all scenarios, and that's why we'll get into the next step, which is advanced print service using ArcPy. Now, why ArcPy? Well, there's some advanced use cases. Some people want to do true vector output, so they may have a map service or a tiled image service, and we can do some tricks there to get high DPI output, but it will still be raster. So if you want vector output, there's a couple cases you can do there. If you want to do things like print pop-ups, Tanu wrote a blog post here, which I can open up, which talks about some of the workflows for using ArcPy to print pop-ups from your web application. And there's a whole configuration here with custom text elements and web app builder and some ArcPy code to do that. And you can follow up on this URL after the conference if you're interested in that. There might be other cases. You might want to do multiple page outputs. So you might want to embed a map with other documents or reports, pictures, driving directions, things like that. Now, when we're talking about custom print workflows with ArcPy mapping, we're sort of leveraging the power of ArcPy and the power of geoprocessing services combined. And in ArcPy, the main method we're going to use is called convert web map to map document. And this does the heart of the work for taking that web map format in JSON, which is the first parameter of this function, applying it to a template MXD, and in some cases it has to write features, and that's really what the notes GDB is for. But this is the powerful method that helps bring that web map into the ArcPy world. Now, the other key step of this is that you'll be publishing a geoprocessing service, and you want that geoprocessing service to have the same signature as the out-of-the-box geoprocessing service. So you're writing a custom script geoprocessing tool, but it has the same signature as the out-of-the-box geoprocessing service tool. And the advantage of that is with your tool matching the same signature, it'll plug into the print digit, the web app builder, any of the API calls. It's just another service implementation. What happens inside of that service is very custom, but externally to the calling applications, it looks the same. Now, once the web map is converted to the map document, you have the full capabilities of ArcPy mapping with that document. So you can modify content, You can add content. You can even export using custom options if you want to get into some of the more particular options of, say, PDF export. And really, this is no different than any of the other workflows with ArcPy mapping at this point. If you want to manipulate your map, that's something ArcPy mapping is really, really great at. And you can read tons and tons of examples in our ArcPy mapping help for guidance on how to achieve those things. Now, there are a couple common cases that you'll want to handle with web map printing, and we have tutorials that help with this. We have one which is called Basic High Quality Web Map Printing, and another one called Advanced Web Map Printing. And these are available at these URLs, and I'll just click on one to open it. And really, this is a step-by-step tutorial for how to set up the service and how to get the case working and output. In this particular case, what this is about is replacing services with local vector data so you can have true vector output. And it guides you through how to write the script, how to do the swap out, and how to publish it, all in a simple tutorial that you can go back to your office after this conference and really follow along with that. So those are two examples. If you get worried about writing down those URLs, note that this presentation is being recorded and will be available after the conference, so you can catch up with it then too. And with that, we'll turn it over to Tanu, who's going to give a demonstration of vector and multi-page printing with ArcPy scripts.
Okay. Right? Okay. All right, so this is the output from the previous step, right? So you saw that I can get an image back, a layout back with the titles and information there. That's good, right? So I can use, I showed you how to do that from the web application builder, but you can also automate that one. In the web application builder, I had to manually put those information in. You can use the JavaScript API to automate that process. But sometimes what happens is that you don't know how many features you're going to select. Right now I have one. It can fit in on that one page with my given area, but you really don't know in many cases up front. So like this case I have here, where I'm going to select multiple features, and it's showing the demographic data for each state, and now I'd like to print them, right? And all I'm doing is that show them I have this. Look at that. There's the advanced option. There is no custom text element at all. But when I submit the job, it will include those information in that that request going to the printing service. And this printing service is actually ArcPy-based printing service. Okay. So let's take a look at that output. So you see that those are features that I selected, have been highlighted, of course. And on the right side, you see that information about that one of the states being shown. Right, the first state. I see my legends at the bottom, but there are more than one features I selected. So when it happened, it actually added a next page. It puts this information on the next page, and when that next page gets filled up, it actually overflows and add additional page and add that information to that. So the case where you want to actually have a map as well as some of this attribute information, and you really don't know about all those things up front, you can use ArcPy advanced technique to get the output in PDF with the multi-page PDF support. Right. So the way I did that, I will just go over very quickly. We have this blog post, as Craig mentioned, that talks about this one too. So what happens is that this is the request that goes to that printing service. Look at that. The layout option doesn't have any custom text element. It's empty. But what's interesting is that operational layer has one base map, and then it has a graphic layer. Okay, this is a feature collection, which is the graphic layers that actually has all those features that I selected or highlighted on my application. That each feature has the geometry, of course. It has the symbols that defines how to symbolize that features. Plus, it has this attributes. Excuse me. So the ArcPy code that I wrote, that simply loops through all the attributes here, okay, and adds that to my layout. So speaking of the layout, there is a little trick that I applied. That's like, so I use two MXDs. One has the map, which is a data frame right here, that where the map shows, with this little with this box here, right there, that shows the information for the first state, right? But when it overflows, it actually uses another MXD. So this MXD does not have any map on the page itself. The map actually is outside of my page. So no map will be drawn in the output PDF. And I have some text boxes right here, which is hidden, but you can see probably a green little dot around it. And when the code loops through all features, collected that attributes, and add them as a value to each text boxes. Is as simple as that. And then in the end, it exports all those pages as separate PDF and combine them into one single PDF and send it back to you. Okay? And the code, the Python code looks like this. There is two MXDs that I'm using. This is the MXD that has the map, and this is the one that does not have map on the page itself. And then it loops through all those information. So, is that only thing you can do? No, there are many use cases for ArcGIS with ArcPy advanced techniques. All right. Craig briefly mentioned of the vector output. So look at this example. So I have this topographic data, and you see that it is printed in the A3 size, I believe. So as I zoom in, you see the quality is not bad. But as I zoomed in really close, I see all the features got pixelated. Okay. There are many cases I don't want to do that. Okay, so this is the output from that out-of-the-box printer service, but here is the output from that custom ArcPy printing service. Look at that. I zoomed it really far, but still I see them drawn nicely and cleanly. Not only that one, what is my menu? So I have these layers. So they are vector layers at this point. So I can toggle this layer visibility on and off with this vector output. Okay, so at that point you can actually give it to any vector editing software, or if you want to input that in your newspaper or some other media, if you want, you can give that handout, this output to them. Okay, another use case is that Craig briefly mentioned is that if you want a booklet output, for example, like you want to search a parcel, you want to draw the parcel, you want to have that picture of that house on that parcel, as well as you want to include the legal documents at the end of that map. So these are all the things that you can do with the ArcPy advanced printing technique. Okay. So as Craig mentioned, it is limitless. All you are tied up with the ArcPy, what are the supports we have in the ArcPy mapping, as well as what the Python supports. With that, back to you, Craig.
All right. Thanks, Tanu. Just one more example, there's a lot of cases where some of you want to embed tables with your printing. And you could do that with ArcPy mapping with some special code. We have another example of that available out there that sort of replicates data-driven pages with dynamic tables and charts all on one layout. And really this is taking sort of the sample code that exists for regular ArcPy mapping workflows and adapting that to fit the print service specification, and then you can have a custom print service that does this kind of work. All right, now we'll talk a little bit about client APIs. Tanu showed a lot with the JavaScript API. They have the print digit or the print task, I think it's called. The runtime SDKs have some printing configuration as well. This is in the versions prior to runtime 100. I don't believe runtime 100 has any print support right now, but it should be coming in updated releases. The key thing though is to go to developers.arcgis.com for the API you're using and look up to see what print support is available there. Now, you may be sitting there saying, wait, you didn't actually print anything. Generally when we're talking about printing, we're talking about printing to PDFs, printable documents that people can print to their local printer. But if you do actually wish to automatically send the content to a physical printer, there are a couple different ways to do this. One, we'd say use the ArcPy mapping workflow. And then if you have local printers, a lot of Windows network printers, say an HP large format printer, will support essentially Xcopy style workflows to their endpoint. So they're on the network as a share. You can actually just copy the file to them as if they're a directory, and the printer will spool that and print it right away. So that's one case some people use. The other workflow would be to use cloud printing. Most common cloud printing workflows involved with Google Cloud Print. Sometimes this is called driverless printing. And Google Cloud Print has some very simple APIs that can be called from Python. If you actually go to their website, a large amount of their examples are about Python and calling printers from Python with the Google Cloud Print API. And essentially what this is about is registering your printer with Google Cloud Print, and then you abstractly print to it without having to have drivers installed and things like that. All right, just to recap, print services are powered by web maps. This is a consistent format that our web APIs produce. It's a JSON specification for sharing the services, graphics, symbology, things like that. And you can use the out-of-the-box tool that we ship with ArcGIS Server, or you can publish a custom configuration of that tool, or you can write a whole custom implementation of printing using ArcPy mapping. Now, there are a couple limitations that we want to talk about with printing that you should be aware of. One thing, we talked about updating templates and that whole approach about whether or not you can update a template or if you have to republish. That's about updating the existing templates. If you ever add more templates or remove templates, you do need to republish them because the service metadata needs to be updated. You must have fonts available on your server if you're going to use them. So a lot of people don't tend to think about this when publishing a service, but if you're using a custom font, that font needs to be installed on your server. And if you want to have wide support for a large number of languages, use a font that has wide Unicode support. Avoid color level transparencies with graphics or feature layers. This won't draw perfectly and it look exactly the same as in, say, the JavaScript API, and legends will be a little bit different than you expect. If you can avoid those, that would be you'd get the best quality print if you avoided those. If you want to do a Unicode font with legend elements, you need to use the ArcPy solution. That's a particular case for those of you who are using things outside of the ANSI range with your text. Another huge limitation of our current print service is that we do not support vector tiles, which pains me very much because I work on vector tiles. This is something we're looking at solving in the upcoming year with advanced support for more workflows with printing vector tiles. We just implemented printing of vector tiles itself in Pro 1.4, and we hope that we'll be able to reuse that implementation for print services in the future. And the final thing, something we hear about all the time, if you've ever had a print service and your legend patches appear broken in the PDF, like this image shows, we encourage you to look at this knowledge base article, knowledge base 11509, or esriurl.com/11509, and this will guide you how to solve this problem. It's a configuration of your server that you need to change. So, did everybody get a photo of that? That needed a photo? All right. And with that, we have to tell you to take our survey. And we are almost out of time for questions, but we have a few minutes. So if anybody has any questions, we can take them. Way in the back. I can't hear you because it's too loud.
I can take the mic if you want.
These demo theaters are pretty loud. Sorry about that. What's the question?
For our definition, for the vector, do you need ArcPy or out of the box it will take the tools, the tier 1, tier 2?
If you want to do a true vector print, do you need ArcPy?
300 DPI.
300 DPI, like true vector print, where it's vector in the PDF?
Yes.
If you want vector in the PDF, you need to use the ArcPy approach. And I would follow one of the tutorials of the two we provided that talk about that. Basically, you're going to want to take the service layer and swap that out for local vector data. Do you have anything more to
Yeah,
say?
the other question was the DPI. So 300 DPI, yes, it does. The printing service has this option called DPI. By default, it's 96, but you can change it to 600, 300. Remember, one of the example Craig showed is that the base map was printed with this 300 DPI. So what basically means that printing service allows you as a client to pass in what DPI you want that output to be. So yes, it is supported.
Yeah. All right. So the question is, we talked about this option for turning dynamic layers on and how that can help you circumvent this problem of your cache base map being 96 DPI. That's if you're using your own base map, first of all, not the Esri base maps. So if you've published your own cache base map and then you enable dynamic layers, what the print service will do is it'll make an export map image request against the map service, and it will get that at the DPI that you desire for your print. So if you do a 300 DPI print, it'll go and request 300 DPI images. It's actually smart enough to tile that request up if needed to, if you're going to blow out your max image size on your server. So the question is there a license model for advanced mapping? If you can publish a geoprocessing service to your server, then you can have the advanced workflow. There's no other licensing. Okay, if you have any more questions, come up and ask them because it's kind of ridiculously loud in here. Thank you.